Greetings, detectives. This is Mrs. McKay, and we are starting Learning Target Clue 6-7, which is all about constructions and being able to construct a rhombus and a square. So let's start by filling in our Learning Target Clue. I can construct a rhombus and a square. Make sure you're writing these in. Using a straight edge and a compass. I can construct a rhombus and a square using a straight edge and a compass. Now let's just review some of our vocabulary. Let's remember what a compass is. Now remember, a compass is a tool that has two parts to it that are connected with a hinge. One part is a pin that's very sharp, okay? And the other part has a pencil attached to it that you can use for drawing. And what you do is you put your compass down and you put the pin into your paper, and it kind of holds it in place. The pin holds it down, sticks into the paper. And then your pencil, you spread out the compass, you spread it out as far as you need to spread it out. You put your pencil on the paper as well, and you spin the pencil around the circle, and this pin is the center of your circle. And you've basically created a circle using that compass, okay? Straight edge is any hard, straight edge that you can use to draw a line. It can be a ruler, but it doesn't need to be a ruler because rulers have markings on it, and we're not going to use the markings on a ruler. We just need a straight edge. So it could be the side of a book. It could be a stick, a piece of wood, anything that will make a straight line that you can use to make a straight line. The next vocabulary term that I want you to know is array. An array is a half of a line. Basically, it's a starting point with an end. So array has an end point, and then it goes on forever in the opposite direction. An array can look like this. Array can go just about any direction you want it to go, but it always has an end point, and then the other direction goes on forever into infinity, okay? A line segment is a part of a line, and it has two endpoints. It has a start and a stop. There's no part of it that goes on forever, and usually we label those A and B, or, two letters. The same is true for array. We'll give it a letter at the end point, and we call this ray A, okay? We call this line segment AB. So array would look something like this. If we were going to describe it, we'd put a little mark over it like that. And if it was a line segment, we would write the start and stop, the two endpoints, and we would just put a line over the little line segment over the top, all right? Perpendicular bisector, we've already talked about perpendicular bisector, so this is just a review. But if we have a line segment, we can take a line and draw it so that it is perpendicular to our line segment. So that means it makes a right angle. Okay, so it's straight up and down, makes a right angle, and that's the perpendicular part of the line. But the bisector part means that it has taken our line segment and divided it into two equal parts. Okay, so this side is equal to this side. Okay, so if we measured from this endpoint to the bisector, it would be a value, and when we measure from the bisector to the other endpoint, it should be the same value. So it's bisecting it, turning it into two equal parts. So now let's go ahead and talk a little bit about a rhombus. We're going to create a rhombus, and we're going to start by having you watch me do it. You'll see my hands and you'll see me creating the rhombus. Then we'll come back and we'll go over these instructions and have you try it out. But just a reminder that a rhombus has 4 equal sides. 4 equal sides, okay? Now, a square has 4 equal sides as well, but a square has one extra part to it, and that is what? It's that it has 4 right triangles. A rhombus does not have to have 4 not triangles, angles. It doesn't have to have 4 right angles. It just has to have 4 equal sides. So a rhombus can look something like this, where each side is equal, but it's not right angles. It can look like this. Can look lots of different ways, okay? Usually it's a diamond shape, okay? The key is that it doesn't have to have right angles like a square does, okay? A square is a type of rhombus. It's a special rhombus. So the main thing is that the rhombus has to have all 4 sides are equal, all right? So we're going to have you start by watching me create a rhombus, and it's going to be following. Here we have a line segment that is AB, and we're going to make our rhombus have all 4 sides be the length of AB, okay? So the length is AB. That's what we're going to make our rhombus be the length of. So all 4 sides will have that same length. So what I want you to do is have you watch this video while I narrate what I'm doing. Okay, so the first thing is I want you to just see that there is this same ray, B, and then this line segment, AB. Okay, so let's go ahead and watch this video. So the first thing that's going to happen is I want to measure the distance between A and B. So I'm going to use my compass to do that. I'm going to put my point on the A and my pencil on the B so that I get the distance. Then I'm going to keep my point on the A, and I'm going to go over to the other side of the ray, and I'm basically making a little mark that is measuring the distance, the same distance that A and B was, and I'm creating a new point, and I'm going to call that point C. Then I'm going to connect A and C with my straight edge, and I'm not worrying about measuring. I'm just using a straight line, and I know that they're the same, that AB is the same length as AC because I used my compass to measure it. So now I'm going to measure AC, and I'm going to make a new mark now below the ray, because basically I want to make the next point. So then I'm using my compass to make a mark from the B over, and then I didn't make my C, from my C point, I didn't do it quite far enough up. So I used my compass and I put the point on C and I made a little arc. Then I put the point on B and I made a little mark, and I looked for where those 2 arcs were intersecting, and then I made that be point D. I'm connecting B to D, and now I'm connecting B to C, and you can see that I have created my rhombus. All right, so let's go back to our page where you're going to now do this. So now what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to take your rhombus, and I'd like you to measure, not your rhombus, I'd like you to take your compass and measure from A to B. You're going to put your point on the A and stretch out your compass until your pencil touches the B. All right? And then you're going to use your compass, holding it down at the A. You're going to swing it around until, and you see this red circle that's being made. You do not have to go all the way around and make that red circle. What you're really looking to do is you're looking to cross your ray right there. And where it crosses is where you're going to create your point C. So it crossed right there. So you're going to make a little point right there, and you're going to draw the letter C, write the letter C. So now we have our point C, and now you can take your straight edge and you're going to actually connect A to C to make your second side. So now we have side 1 and side 2, and I can't tell if I... Yep, so they're the same length. So now we need to make our point D, and the way that we're going to do that is we're going to keep our compass at that same distance, and you might want to double check it. Put your point on the C and go up and measure with the pencil to A. And now, do you see this purple circle right here? This purple circle, you're going to follow it around, and you're going to just start making your arc right about there. And then you're going to keep that same distance, and this time you're going to put your point on B, and you're going to basically follow this gray circle, and the gray circle is going to cross your purple circle right there. And where those two circles have crossed, you've now made point D. Make point D, go ahead and make a mark there, and then you're going to take your straight edge and you're going to connect D to C and then B to D, and you just created a rhombus. And it's a perfect rhombus. Each side is the same distance, and these angles are all, this angle is going to be equal to this angle, and these two angles are going to be equal to each other. You've got a line of symmetry right here. If you drew a line down from the top to the bottom, you would see that you have another line of symmetry. So you've just created a rhombus. Now we're going to work on creating a square. So down here at the bottom, we have this line segment. We'll go ahead and call this A, and we can call this one B as well if we'd like. And now I'd like you to watch me create a square. Actually, before we do that, let's just go back and let me just tell you that everything that we did is written over here where it says constructing a rhombus. So if you need to review the instructions, you can review the instructions there. The same will be true for constructing a square, except that I didn't repeat everything that we did for the rhombus, all right? So the big thing with a square is when we write a square, we know that a square has 4 equal sides and 4 right angles, right? 4 equal sides and 4 right angles. So that's important. It can't just be any old place willy-nilly that we make our sides. We're going to have to make a right angle, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So angles right here. So the first thing is we'll go ahead and watch me doing that on my video. Okay, so here we are with the next one with the line segment. We're with just the one line segment, and we're going to create a square with it. So the first thing that I do is I take my compass and I put my point on one end, and then I'm going to extend my compass so that it goes more than halfway across. I want to go more than halfway across my line segment, and I'm making an arc above the line segment and an arc below the line segment, and I'm doing it from one end of the line segment, and then I do it at the bottom of the line on the other end. So I've basically made 4 arcs, each one from either side. So I then have made 2 points, and I'm going to take my straight edge and I'm going to actually connect my 2 points. And you'll see that once my 2 points are connected, I'm going to have made my right angle. So there I've just connected. Now I've just created a perpendicular bisector of my line segment. I've got my two my two sides. And I'm just going to use one side to create my square. So I'm going to go, I put that M in the middle for the middle, and now I'm going to measure A to M is going to be the side of my square. And I'm going to create that same side. I'm going to put my point on M, and I'm going to use that measurement from A to M, and I'm marking up at the top, and that's, I think I'm going to make that C, point C. I might have made it D. No, I made it point C. So now I have A to M and then M to C. And now I just have to I'm measuring from C to M, and I'm going to go over to the other side and make a little arc. And then I'm going to do the same thing from the A, go up and make an arc where I'm looking where the two cross. And I've just made my point D. And now all I have to do is connect C to D, and then D to A, and I will have made my triangle. Or not my triangle, my square. And there it is. There's my square with 4 right angles. And we'll go back. All right, so now it's your turn. It's your turn to do this. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to take your compass, and I want you to go ahead and put your point on the A. And then extend your compass so that it goes beyond the halfway mark, where it's obviously more than halfway across the line segment. And you can see that my gray circle is coming more than halfway across the line segment. And you're going to take your compass and you're going to just make a little mark up here like that. And then you're going to come down here and you're going to make another little mark down here. So you're basically making a mark, the distance from A to more than halfway across the line segment, and you're making your circle. You're going to put a mark above it, above your line segment, and a mark below your line segment. You're going to keep that same distance that you made, so you don't want to change your distance, but now you're going to move your point from the A. You're going to put your point on the B, and you're going to face your compass the opposite direction, and this time you're going to look. You're going to take your compass, and it should come across this way, and you're going to make an arc above and an arc below. And notice now that I have 2 places where my little arcs have intersected. So I'm going to go ahead and mark those, put a little dot here and a dot here, and I'm going to use my straight edge to connect those 2 dots. Okay, because those 2 points can make a line. So I'm going to connect my 2 points with my straight edge. I'm going to go ahead and extend it a ways because I'm going to want to be able to all right. So there, now I have my straight edge. So now I've just made, what I've ended up doing is I've made my right angle, and that right angle is important. I've made this right angle right here. Okay, so I've made my right angle, and I've also bisected. I basically created a perpendicular bisector, and I've bisected this line segment. I now have, and I'm going to make this point, this midpoint, be point M. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a square that has the side length of AM. So AM from A to M is going to be the length of my sides of my square. All right, so I'm going to use my compass, and I'm going to measure A to M. So I can put my point on the M and put my pencil on the A, or the other way around, either way. But then I'm going to take, and I'm going to make sure that whatever that distance is of my compass, I'm going to put my point on the M, and I'm going to move it up so that it actually crosses. I'm going to take my circle from M, or from A and I'm going to make my arc so that it comes up and it crosses my perpendicular bisector that I made. So it's going to be right about here is where it crosses, if I'm counting correctly, which I'm faking it because I don't have a compass. I'm having to do this by counting, but you can use it with a compass. 2, 3, 4, 5, 2. Yeah. So once I've made my point, that I'll go ahead and call point C. All right, so now I have two sides of my square. I have AM and I have MC. And all I have to do is figure out where over here is my final point. Well, I can do that the same way that I did my rhombus. I'm going to measure my M to C, measure that from there. I'm going to put my point on C, and I'm going to take my compass, and I'm going to make this little arc again. And it's actually going to be right about here somewhere, okay? And then I'm going to do the same thing from A, put my point on A and use the length of my compass. And it's going to be somewhere around here, okay? And then where I see the two intersecting is where I make my point. And they really should be intersecting right about there, okay? And then I'll want to use my straight edge and draw my line from, let me give this point a name. We'll say that this is point D, okay? And we're going to draw my line from point D to C, and from point D to A, and there I have just constructed a square, all right, using simply a compass and a straight edge. And that's all that we have to do for today with constructing a rhombus and a square, all right? The only other thing you might want to kind of play around with is you could try folding A over onto B, folding, and actually you would end up folding on this perpendicular bisector, and you could see how you actually are crossing over the perpendicular bisector if you want to play around with that a little bit. I've got all of the instructions. Make sure you review the instructions over here, and then write yourself some key ideas. 1 or 2, you don't need to write an entire paragraph, just 1 or 2 main ideas that are going to help you remember how to create a rhombus, how to construct a rhombus, how to construct a square, and using a straight edge and a compass. And other than that, I'll see you in class.